I'm glad that you're here. I loved Siciliana. Loved it. I enjoyed it so much, and I'm showing my live stream folks the cover of the book. So yeah. Next up, we have Carlo Treviso. Carlo grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and graduated from Columbia College in Chicago with a degree in film directing. Traversing the worlds of Hollywood and advertising, Treviso has written and produced commercial broadcast campaigns for well-known brands all over the world. He is the son of a Sicilian immigrant. He enjoys bringing his passion and appreciation for Sicily to his readers. He's a proud advocate and supporter of conservation organizations, which all work to protect the beauty and grandeur of Sicily's engrossing past, resilient culture, and vibrant biodiversity. Treviso resides in Chicago, Illinois. Hey, Carlo.
Hey, buonasera. How are you?
Buonasera. I'm good. I'm glad that you are you're with me here. I thought that I was like, I'm all confused when we have some technology issues going on. So I'm glad that you're here. I loved Siciliana.
Thank you.
I loved it. I enjoyed it so much, and I'm showing my live stream folks the cover of the book. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to see if I can get my my live stream people to hear your interview a little bit better because we're on headphones. So let's see. All right. So tell us about Siciliana, because I know what it's about, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah, of course. So Siciliana is my historical thriller novel. It came out earlier this year, and the story centers around a dramatic historical event that took place in Sicily in 1282, and it was called the Sicilian Vespers Uprising. So at that time, you may know that the French occupied Sicily, and they were known to be very abusive to the people, a lot of cases of violence, molestation. And what happened was, on Vespers night, the night of the Easter Vigil, as the Sicilian people were kind of coming together to celebrate in Palermo, the French showed up and kind of crashed the party. And allegedly what happened was they started molesting one of the women in the audience, in attendance. And she took out her blade. She stabbed the French soldier and cried, "Death to the French." And what it did was it inspired this really kind of intense, dramatic uprising in Palermo, where the people of Palermo rose up and essentially slaughtered all the French soldiers in the city. And then that turned into a broader revolution across the entire island. So the novel follows a young woman named Agnes Fury as she sparks this rebellion and essentially steps into this role of revolutionary hero called Siciliana.
I love it. So what inspired you to write this?
So growing up, as you mentioned, I'm the son of a Sicilian immigrant. My dad came here to America when he was a young man. And, growing up, when I used to tell people about my Sicilian heritage who were really unfamiliar with its past, the first thing I kind of always heard was, that dreaded M word, like, oh, hey, like the mafia, Godfather, hey, Godfather Carlo. If you mention Sicily in literature or film, the first thing you might think of is that aging Don circling a white cat or a mobster running a casino. And I just always felt that my Sicilian heritage deserved better than what you kind of saw in popular entertainment in the media. And I decided to write a novel about Sicily that had nothing to do with that kind of took place during the time that I find interesting about Sicily was during this time when it was its own kingdom. A time that I say in the book, a land of forbidden nights, forgotten fortresses, and fallen kings. So I wanted to bring that perspective of Sicily to the world.
People don't understand that, Sicily was, on its own, and unfortunately conquered by different kingdoms, whether it was the French, the Brits, the Arabs came over, all of that, and they don't realize that was, and it's such an amazing melting pot. And you mentioned that so many times over and over in the book with talking how the French basically were calling them, their blood was mixed, like gypsies.
Exactly. I mentioned one of the French villains, General Rochefort. he says they have the blood of gypsies. Right? It was like totally an insult against them.
Which is funny because I don't know. Have you done your DNA?
I have, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you all Sicilian, or do you have are you a mix?
So it says 75% Italian, and then that's broken down into other subsections. I have a little Arab, right. Balkan, Iberian Peninsula. So yeah, it's like all over the place, which is totally in line with all the conquerors who took over Sicily over time.
You know what? I have some French.
Amazing.
So yeah, I have some, Eastern European, some French. And I'm same 75% Italian. But I think there's some Middle Eastern in there too as well. So yeah, I think people don't realize how amazing and beautiful the Sicilian people are, and so warm and loving. And they think their first mind, like you said, the first thought is it goes towards the illegal people who've done some bad things, that illegal aspect of it. And, if you look at any ethnic group, there are all kinds of different groups that have, they all have their own bad people, I guess.
Of course.
So it's...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
One of the like when I visited Sicily for the first time 7 years ago, I was celebrating a birthday, and the biggest thing that stood out was the mix of cultures on the island. I mean, like you said, like there was a little Greek, Roman, Arab, mm-hmm. Norman, and it's reflecting in the architecture and the food. My favorite part of the food, panellis and arancini. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that came from the Arab influence.
Yes.
So I had that growing up. We always had it, Christmas Eve, we always made arancini, but that was technically an Arab tradition. So it was just fascinating to discover all of the influences in Sicily that you don't necessarily get in mainland Italy.
Yeah, it's true. And even in different regions of Sicily, there's different food. And a lot of times it's because they eat the local products. So my family in Riesi, they're right in the center. I asked them what they ate for Christmas Eve, and they don't eat fish like everyone said, the 7 fishes. They just don't. They're in the middle of Sicily, so they eat what is local to them. So it's a very interesting island. It's diverse within itself.
Absolutely. And to that point, so the main character in Siciliana, Agnes Fury, she comes from the Mount Etna region.
Yes. So
my dad actually comes from Porticello, which is near Palermo. It's a fishing village. Mm-hmm. And when I was talking to him about the book, and I was asking him, I asked him for translation and, stuff like that. And there's this term they use in the book called simu sufaru.
See.
And it basically means no matter where you I guess how does it go? We are nothing but sulfur, basically. But I found out that that's only really in the Mount Etna region of Sicily. So he didn't recognize that term coming from Palermo.
Yeah, see, that's interesting. I love it. People don't realize how amazing and beautiful Sicily is. And even when I wrote, my book is about, it's not about Sicily like yours in terms of a novel, but I had people saying things to me like, why would I want to read a book about thugs? And it's painful. It's painful, especially when you know the people there and how beautiful they are and how loving and kind and open. So getting back to your book, so what led you to developing your hero, Agnes Fury?
Yeah, so Agnes Fury, she's a fictional character. So the event called the Sicilian Vespers, there's not a lot of historical record around this. And it gave me a lot of creative liberty to kind of come up with my own interpretation, per se. So Agnes Fury is the woman that I place at the center of the event, the woman that allegedly pulled out her blade and stabbed the French soldier to spark this rebellion. So she is a fictional character. She never existed, but I kind of, based her on my sisters. So my sisters are very witty and smart and sassy, and, I took a lot of their personality and put them into Etna. And, and then we follow her journey as she goes from being this, obscure maiden to becoming the Revolutionary War hero, Siciliana.
I love it. So what do you wish for readers to take away from the book?
Yeah, so I think that a renewed appreciation of Sicilian culture and history is what I'd really love for readers to take away. I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in monolithic thinking. Like, a lot of people kind of automatically lump Sicily in with Italy. And many people don't know that Sicily only really became part of Italy, I think, in the 1800s.
Yep.
So it's recently Italian, but it used to be its own kingdom for millennia. And, I guess I'm just, when people come away from reading Siciliana, I hope that they have a new appreciation for Sicilian culture, history, and they see that it's more than just the land of the mafia, and there are so many different cultural influences on the island.
Yeah, I love it. I love the book. I enjoyed it. It really was wonderful for me to read. I enjoyed the history, and I really appreciate your work. And as an author myself, I appreciate how what you the time and effort that you put in and the research that you put in for Siciliana, and I really enjoyed it. And I hope that you'll come back and talk to us about either a sequel or your next book. Would you like to do that? I'd love to have you back.
Absolutely.
Great.
Anytime.
Well, thanks, Carlo. It was great to have you. Take care.
All right, thank
ciao,
you.
ciao.